Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Vanessa, I see you in here. Bring you in. Hope everyone's doing well this evening.
Hello.
Hello there. Cherie, can you bring Vanessa in since you're host?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. How are you today?
Pretty good, thank you. Hope
Good.
everyone is doing well. Hope you're doing well, Tawanna. Here we go. Well, I'm still getting phone calls about the great Joe Anderson. Thank you to everyone who was here last week. He had a blast being here with us, and he was so happy for our group. So, but today we've got a great conversation as well. Little different. We're going to be talking about motivation.
Hey, Miss
Which is very
Vanessa.
important. Hey, Vanessa. Well, it's 6 o'clock, so we can get started. We're going to get started on the dot. So, hey, my name is Shireen. This is the 10K Project. If you are all about building wealth, economics, finance, personal finance, generational wealth, you are in the right place. So the 10K Project is the largest community of investors who actively fund Black-owned businesses. And the primary way that we do that is through something called a Bet on Black pitch. Every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we invite a Black entrepreneur that is raising funds through something called equity crowdfunding to come and present his or her business to us. And you, as an ordinary person, can be an investor in that business for as little as $100 oftentimes. So the way that it works is it's done through something called equity crowdfunding. Equity crowdfunding is governed by the Securities and Exchange Commission and FINRA. So there is government oversight. The entrepreneur comes to the community, they talk about their business, what their business is, what their exit plan is, how they're going to grow the business, et cetera. And then all of us as participants and potential investors get to ask that entrepreneur questions. We get our responses. Then we get to do more research, something called due diligence in the community. You do your research, and then if you like that business, you as an individual gets to decide if you want to invest in that business. And oftentimes, again, the investments are as little as $100. So that's the Bet on Black pitch. But outside of the Bet on Black pitch, we have all sorts of other financial education that we do. Tawanna will chime in here as well. I know I don't have my list as I usually do, but we have, last week we did a session on dividend investing, dividend stock investing. And I just read something, I think Talisha put it up, that said that that when we retire, most of us will need 80% of our income, 80% of our income in order to retire. So we need to start thinking about cash flow so that we're able to retire, because a lot of us are not going to be able to retire just on what we're putting into our 401ks, according to, and it wasn't the post by Talish, but it was just something I just saw. So if that's the case, we need to start thinking about other types of investments, alternative types of investments. We've learned about tax liens. We are going to have our real estate mastermind starting hopefully in the fall. We have our business buying mastermind that Tawanna is a part of. And the big thing that we have is we have a partnership with Freeman Capital. Freeman Capital is a Black-owned financial coaching and planning company. They do customized financial plans for you. They offer 6 months of financial planning with their organization. I'm going to toss it over to Tawanna. She's going to talk a lot more about that and any other upcoming announcements. And of course, request all of you who are not members to become members. So we're going to drop that link in the chat as well for everybody. So Tawanna, I'm going to toss it over to you.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tawanna Rivers. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at the 10K Project. So to anyone who is new this evening, welcome. So glad you've taken the time to hang out with us for a little while. And to all of our members, y'all know how I feel about y'all. So thank you for being here always. In addition to some of the things Cherie said, investment education, and we kind of run the gamut. We focus on equity crowdfunding, and because we believe that there is a huge opportunity to build wealth for both the entrepreneur and the investor as it relates to equity crowdfunding. So we definitely talk about that. As Cherie mentioned, access to all of the wealth building webinars, access to the masterminds. We've got the business mind mastermind, as she stated. We've got a real estate one that we're working on. That's the final touches are being put on it. And you guys are going to love this one because the person teaching this one came and talked to us, and our emails really blew up after he was here. So we know he's going to be a great partner to teach us all how to build wealth via the purchase of and investing in real estate. Also, as Cherie stated, the Bet on Black pitches. The other thing is, we've done things like Ask a CPA sessions. Those sessions were very beneficial. The accountants got busy, obviously, around tax season, so they're going to come back and talk to us a little bit more and help us really answer questions that help us prepare for next tax season. And give us some more time to be able to really do that and come up with a good plan. But it's literally the sessions that we had originally were for entrepreneurs who had questions, but we may also do a session for just investors, things that we need to know as investors from a tax perspective. Many of us are getting K-1s from different investments that we may be a part of. What does that mean? What do we do with them? So we may have questions like that. Also, when we talk about the Bet on Black pitch, it's so much more than just bringing an entrepreneur in front of you that you could potentially invest in. Essentially, we are really curating the investor pool, right? And presenting to you the best of the best as it relates to equity crowdfunding campaigns and Black founders. And so we really want you to see this as the ability to save you time, because we're scouring through all of the active campaigns, and we're bringing you those founders that we believe could fit nicely in your portfolio if you choose to have them do so. So there's that piece of the Bet on Black pitch. Coming to the pitch is one thing, but how we curate the investor for you is a whole nother thing. And then also, we've got our professional database, and we don't talk about that enough. We really don't. But if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for and you're already a member, right? There's no reason why you're not advertising for free in the expert directory. There's absolutely zero reason why you're not putting your business. Vanessa, do you have your business in that expert directory? You're on mute. You're on mute. But I hear you. I can read lips. So you said, I don't remember, but I don't think I do. I got all of that. so you got to put that in that expert directory. And for just the rest of us, right? If you have skills, and we all have skills, right? So any skill you have, there's someone looking for what we each do well, right? And where are they going to find you if you don't tell them? So if you're already a member, perfect place, put it in the expert directory. I've shared with you guys before that we've had founders call us and say, hey, I'm looking for a revenue officer. I'm looking for chief operating officer because this is a startup and we need a team. And, do you have anyone that does anything? And we send them to the expert directory to look there. And so when they go there to look, they're looking for you. Make sure you put yourself there so they can find you, right? So that's something we don't talk about enough. We need to do like a campaign to all members to say, like right now, stop what you're doing and put your information in the expert directory, because it's going to be, it can potentially bring business to you. And we allow anything in there. If you sell goods, services, whatever, put it in there. We just ask that you be, make sure your words used are family friendly, right? Because we're sending everybody to the expert directory, but there is no industry that's off limits as long as it is a legal business, right? If you've got something illegal, please don't put it in a directory. We'll make it legal first and then put it in the directory, but don't make it illegal. And so we do a lot for what we're offering. And membership here at 10K is just $30 a month, or $300 for the year. So if you do it for the year, you get 2 months free. And then we also have the ability for you to buy an upgrade with the financial planning. And that is, as Cherie stated, a relationship that we have with Freeman Capital, an amazing company. And they are helping many of our members build wealth and retain wealth also, right? Because some of us have a little something and we want to learn how to keep it, right? That's the other thing, is that they're teaching us how to maintain it, not just how to get it, but how to maintain it, which in my mind is a lot more important, right? Doesn't matter if you get it, if you can't keep it. The whole point is the generational part of that building wealth, right? If we get it and lose it, then the generations don't benefit from this hard work. So we have to learn how to keep the bag, not just how to get the bag. I feel like we do so much more because I know we do.
Yeah,
it's hard to put it in categories sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I would like to, I didn't want to interrupt you, but we have some upcoming members only events that I'm going to start sending them out by email so you all are able to register. But I just want to let you know that next Tuesday, 6 p.m., we're going to have a mastermind session about how to prepare for the recession. And we have some members coming to talk about different areas that they're actually preparing. So that's going to be a mastermind session. Then on the June 7th, we have a woman who has started multiple e-commerce businesses, and she's selling one of those now. And she is coming to give a session on starting and growing your e-commerce business. So people have asked me about how to do it, and she is an expert on that. So she is coming Tuesday, June 7th, again, members only, Tuesday, June 7th, to talk about e-commerce businesses and how you could start and grow those. Then on the following week, June 14th, this is going to be a busy summer, we have someone coming to talk about Airbnb. So some of you have properties or you're thinking about buying properties and turning them into Airbnbs. She is an expert on how you become something called a super host within Airbnb. That's when you get a lot of people coming and you get more and more referrals and they push you up in the algorithms and things like that. So, and then we have, I am going to start doing our how to start and grow a business mastermind session every couple of months as well. So I have that in there so that it's going to be more of a talk to me, ask me anything, if I need to bring on a guest that has other types of experience, I will do that. But the whole point is for you to do three things: make money, manage it, and multiply it. And if we can help you, we will present the people here to help you do those things. And unlike some of the larger platforms that you see out there, because we can be intimate with you and have a smaller mastermind sessions and things like that, you are able to ask questions and really interact with people. We don't bring people here with a lot of sizzle and shine and glitz and glamour behind them sitting on a Lambo. That's not Tawanna and I. We bring you people like Joe Anderson, who has bought companies doing 1.6 billion in revenues, and you have a chance to interact with somebody like that actually has receipts. So
Joe might have a Lambo though. He just didn't bring it.
well, I don't see Joe on Instagram with a Lambo, but the guy has his receipts and he's so down to earth and so pleasant. So with that, anything else, Tawanna?
I think that's it. I think we get to talk to Miss Vanessa.
Okay, and the10kproject.com if you want to check us out and hopefully become a member as well. So yes, now let's bring up Vanessa. So this is Tawanna's favorite session of the month. This is our member highlight. And Vanessa is doing something very interesting. And we decided to make it a full session for tonight because this is something that I suffer with. So I'm doing it a little selfishly, but hopefully it'll bless all of us. And that's motivation, especially when things get tough, but even for some of us when we're getting started with stuff. So Vanessa, you're a long time, I think you're one of our founding members.
Yes, I am.
Yes, founding member of the 10K Project. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I love your background as well.
Oh, thank you. That's one of my projects that I've done. I am a former educator.
Mm-hmm.
I started out teaching general ed, and the end of my career, I taught special education.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my sense of empathy for people really helped me because I taught students who were emotionally handicapped.
Mm-hmm.
I retired about 7 years ago now, and I knew when I was preparing to retire that I was going to need something to do because I had worked 2 jobs most of my career. So, I'm not a sit around kind of person.
Yeah.
So I love stationery, and I decided to do a little stationery business.
Mm-hmm.
And people kept asking me, well, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? And it grew from the stationery to all of the wonderful things that I do now. Pretty much anything that could be printed on, I do.
Oh, great.
That's the best way to describe it.
That is, so you had a passion for stationery?
I do. I have always loved stationery. I've always loved writing letters, cards. My family and my friends would buy me sets of stationery because that was one of my big loves.
Wow. You're old school, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way.
Oh, no.
But remember,
I don't take it that way.
I remember growing up and you got a gift and mama would make you write the handwritten note.
Yes.
Thank you, for the graduation gifts, for the birthday gifts, everything. I kind of sometimes feel like that's a lost art as well. And now when people get mail, they're like, they're surprised, like real mail, not just junk mail.
Mm-hmm. Snail mail.
Like real mail. Yes, real snail mail. They're like actually surprised,
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but I looked at it like this when I started. I said, people will always get married.
Mm-hmm.
And not everyone wants to send a text as an invitation.
That's true.
Right.
Not only, well, I don't know like how the young people work these days, but I would imagine it's is it tacky to do that? Maybe
that's a matter of opinion. And now some would say yes, but some say the convenience is better. So I think you have a mix. You have people who would prefer to get the mail. I mean, I still write love letters and mail them. So, I mean, some things they just mean something special, right? You watch those movies and you see the person open the shoebox in the top of the closet, put the love letters for the last 20 years. I'm that girl. I'm such a romantic. Yeah. There's nothing that compares to that. And so, I too love to write and love the stationery. I'm not the invitation by text or by Facebook kind of girl.
No.
So we're gonna do some because we got 47 people here in Zoom and we have other people watching on social media. Put a
Mhm.
1 in the chat if you're old school and you love the notes, the love notes. Put a 2 in the chat if you're okay with the love text. But you can put a
Great
1
way to
or
phrase
and
it.
2 in there if you want either, you know.
Hey, put a 3 if you just want to love. That's it, right?
We have people putting 1 and 2.
Somebody put a 3. What was the 3 for?
A 3 was if you just want to love. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Electronically, manually, whatever.
You can get it. You know, like I would imagine for some people, especially from their kids, if they could just get a love text from their kids, they would cherish it. You know, I like love voicemails as well. So, you know, hey, the future Mr. Warwick.
Are you
Take
listening, sir?
But let's talk about motivation. So you are starting a motivation journal as part of your stationery business. Talk to us a little bit about that and how you got the idea to do that.
Well, I've been journaling since I was in college the first time, and that's been since 19 or something. Okay. And I have all my journals from when I first started. And occasionally I go back and read things because it's a reminder of how far I've come and some of the things that I've been able to work through that at the time seemed like an impossibility, but you get there. So they were really, really helpful to me. You know, I've done other things also to be motivated, but that was a big part of it. And in the business, I was doing the printed journals, that's a picture of one behind me. It's just lined pages with, you know, the pretty cover that I designed and printed. But then I thought about it and I said, you know, people have been through so much, you know, maybe this is a way to help inspire them. So it's a little more than a printed blank page journal that I'm putting together. I don't want to say too much and give it away until it's ready because I'm still putting some final touches on. It's going to be published. It's not just going to be sold on my website.
Oh, it's published like with the publishing company? Like,
yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You have to come back sometime for a members only session and talk about
yes,
that.
I will.
Yes, we got to know. Okay, so don't give away what's in the journal. But so the topic though of today is like how to get motivated and more importantly, how to stay motivated, especially during the tough times, how to get unstuck, things like that. And when I was thinking about this earlier today, I was thinking about I think we can say it now on social media, the pandemic, right? And you know how there were people that got fit for the pandemic during the pandemic, and now you're seeing their before and their after. That's not me, right? I gained weight during the pandemic. I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever lose it, blah, blah, blah. You know, all of those things. I think that there are many of us that have those things that either we're starting or we're trying to get through, whether it is, you know, dating again, or whether it's losing weight, or finally getting out of that job that's just like, you know, you're in a rut, right? Or getting out of a bad marriage or whatever it is. I'm curious what your thoughts are, some of the lessons that you have for people with regards to motivation.
Well, I wrote some things down. So let me start with, first of all, for me right now, this is a huge topic because this is Mental Health Awareness Month. So what a perfect time to talk about this. That's number one. But my feeling is like, trust me, I get it. Many of us are tired. Okay. So much has happened in the past 2 years with the loss of family, friends, and often through no fault of their own. They got sick and they were gone. And that's on top of all the quote unquote regular stuff that we have to deal with, be it children, job, social media, whatever it could be. So my feeling is that you have to try to honor those that came before us and paved the way, and continue to move forward in realizing whatever your hopes and dreams and desires are. You can't get stuck in a rut. So there have been many people that have assisted me throughout my life, in staying motivated in minor ways as well as in major ways. And sometimes I sit and I reflect, some of them I've been able to stay in contact with and others not. But I think about it sometimes and I say, I wonder what they would think if they realized that little thing that they did helped me to get where I am now, and how much I appreciate that. One of the things that I believe is that I'm really deeply involved in community service. I have been for 25 years now. And I believe that that's a big part of it, and that's why I'm doing the motivational project, because I want to help some other people. I know, like, I have not had it as hard as some people. I'm retired. I have a pension. I know where my next meal is coming from. I know tomorrow I'm going to have a roof over my head. Not everyone can say that. And not everyone feels that way. So in staying motivated, you have to use whatever means you have available in the moment. You may need to change them from day to day. Sometimes it might be helpful to even step away for a moment, an hour, a day or two, just so that you can regroup. But sometimes you need to look at the different four walls to get some perspective, So I'm looking at it like you have to use what works for you. It may be your faith, your therapist, affirmations, meditation, yoga, physical fitness, journal writing, or all the above.
The above, right?
Whatever helps you to get through. Like I said, I began journaling when I was in college, and I go back and I read some of those things, and I'm grateful that I've made it this far, because I could have been somewhere else, and like right now I have a small business, and it's not always easy. The life of an entrepreneur is definitely not easy, and there have been times where I said, oh, I'm just going to give this up, because I am the creator, the producer, the bookkeeper, the file clerk, the shipper, and on and on. It's just me. And it's a lot. But, I think about it and I say, okay, if I let this go, then what? I'm not going to sit around. I need something to keep me busy.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I have a business mentor who's been a godsend through the SCORE program. She is wonderful. I also have other business owners that I talk to from time to time about different pain points and how to work through them, which is also helpful. And I look at it like this. I realize that I absolutely love what I do. It brings me immense joy. I mean, when I think about it, I'm just almost tearing up, because it brings me that much joy. And when I produce things for people, like a lot of my customers are people that I know, and they'll say, I want so-and-so, but I don't know what I want to. Okay, just do whatever you do. And then they're always amazed and happy with it. And that makes me happy. So I said, it may not be a lot, but I'm bringing a little joy into someone else's life. Do that. Lastly, like, I've had children, and my son was my motivator when I was younger. But if you have minor children, use them as a motivation to get you through. If you have a trusted friend, talk to them. You don't have to, belabor the point. You might just need to have a conversation one day, and, you might not have to have another conversation for 2 weeks. But just having that ear, because sometimes when you say the words out loud, it helps you to focus on the issue, and it brings clarity. The last thing is what I've learned from my business mentor is you don't have to tackle the whole mountain. Take it one cliff at a time. And the only clock on your goals is the one in your mind. However long it takes, it takes. Just keep moving forward. And, you know, lastly, we as Black people have had so much put upon us and taken away from us that I believe that as long as we persevere, we can get to wherever it is we're trying to go. So who knows, once you found your motivational tool, maybe you can be that motivating factor to somebody else.
Yeah, no, those are absolutely great tips. You know, as you were talking, some things that came to mind for me was, you know, I later in my life, I started surrounding myself with a different type of person, right? The person that would uplift and contribute to the motivation and my progression. And sometimes we have to look at our surroundings, right? Who are we spending time with? Who are we taking advice from, right? That oftentimes speaks negativity into our life instead of that motivational positivity that we all need to keep moving forward. And so, you know, you've got to analyze the surroundings, because if the voices in your head are saying you can't, right? Or you never will, or you're not good enough, then trying to counteract that with what you feel and believe you can do is sometimes a challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes those voices of others shout your own. And so you have to be careful who you're letting into your space and into your psyche that way. You know, so that's one of the things I would say. We all, both men and women, we all need to take a close look at where we want to be and who we're surrounding ourselves with. And are they speaking life into us? If they're not speaking life into us, then we need to reevaluate.
Yeah, and you know, when it comes to people speaking life into you, it's interesting because I will hear sometimes that people will say, oh, it's my husband, my wife, my mother, somebody that you can't just completely block out. Like most other people, most other people you can completely block out. But there are times where it's somebody who, Tawanna's smiling, so maybe she's thinking something different, but
they are not speaking life into you. I don't care who they are. You can still love them from afar.
Love them from afar.
If they are not speaking life into you, save yourself, because the opposite of life is death.
That's right.
That means they are speaking death into you. It's a no-brainer for me.
So
you still love them. I didn't say stop loving them.
Yeah, I don't have anybody that I'm that connected to that I can't just walk away from, but there are people who feel like they do. So I was trying to be compassionate, but if Tawanna's saying if they don't speak life,
they tell you on the plane, right? We use this analogy in so many ways. Put your oxygen on first.
Right. Yeah.
Save yourself. You can't save anyone else until you save yourself. So and I remember as a parent of a young child, when I first heard that on a plane, I was like, well, no, I'm gonna put his on first, you know, because that's what parents do, right? We take care of everybody first. You can't take care of them if you don't put yours on. If you can't breathe, they can't breathe. And so if I'm not living in my purpose, and if I'm not living in a way that allows me to get better and improve and to then be a motivation to others, then what's the point? I mean, it just seems like it's, I don't know. So I think the problem is we tend to care more about others than ourselves. And that causes a huge kind of rift within ourselves, because we feel guilty, especially parents, and I would imagine spouses as well, right? I'm going to be a spouse in a few months. And so I would imagine from a spouse standpoint, you still put someone above you. And I guess I just want us to make sure that all of the people around us, right, whether we're putting them first or putting us, that they are speaking life into us. Yeah. I've had people not speak life into me, and I know what that did to me. And I know what it feels like to get the opposite.
Yeah. I know a woman who told me that she had to separate herself from her son. Now, the son is an adult. He has substance abuse issues, in and out of prison. And she finally just said, I can't do it anymore. I have to separate myself from him. So she stopped taking his collect calls. She stopped putting money on his books, like all of that. And that's an extreme example, but I'm not a parent, but I would imagine any parent, that would be the most painful thing you would have to do, is say, my child is not, it's not that the child is not serving you, but like Tawanna saying, breathing life into you. They're not any kind of an asset in your life. They're a detriment. They end up being such a detriment that that it ends up harming you. I just, I'm just kind of, again, thinking of, because some of the motivation that some people may need may be to take that first step as well. And that could be the hardest step that they take, is to say, this relationship is damaging me. I've been at this job for 15 years, but this new boss that I have is damaging me, where I go home and I cry every night and it's not worth it, but what else am I going to do, because I have a specialty in this? So,
but I think I love that you brought that up, and it kind of ties into one of the questions that's in the Q&A, is what do you do about imposter syndrome, right? So you take Cherie's scenario of the, I'm not happy at this job, but it's what I do, and and I can't do anything else, and maybe this job is not, maybe it's such a specialty that you can't just get them frequently, right? So you might have to do something different. And am I good enough? Am I smart enough? And so, what imposter syndrome does is it makes the person psychologically doubt if they are worthy at the end of the day, right? Am I pretty enough? Am I skinny enough? Am I smart enough? Can I do this as good as all the other people that do this do it, right? And sometimes what that does is we talk ourselves out of taking chances and taking advantage of opportunity, learning something new. We just talk ourselves out of it because we don't believe, that ties directly into motivation in my mind, because you need the tools to first kind of reprogram or deprogram, right? Some of the damage that has been done that's making you think you're not capable to begin with, right? So how do you reprogram your brain to say, the positive things about you first, right? What's the syndrome for when I think I'm too good? What's that syndrome? You want to start with that syndrome and then maybe back into a little modesty, right? But you don't want to start with I can't do anything, right? But we've been programmed, right? It's on the job. You've been, the microaggressions, those make you feel like you're not worthy, right? The 2% increases when you deserve 5 or 10, those make you feel some kind of way, right? Less than, not worthy. So many things that happen around us make us question and doubt who we know God made us to be. And so it is not until we surround ourselves with the right people in the right environment that we are allowed to think freely enough to believe in ourselves and not and be okay with failure even, right? And be okay with failure and not worry about what people will say or if it doesn't work. Because if this doesn't work, guess what? I know God made me to be a survivor, and the next thing will. And if that next thing don't work, guess what? The next thing will, right? Because you keep going, because as long as there's a tomorrow, there's an opportunity for us to succeed in all of those things.
Yeah. Beulah said, say no like you're saying no to a telemarketer. That needs to be put on somebody's wall tonight. Write it out, put it up. So we have a question here from Anonymous. How can we get the most from books and videos if we have very little time? I've tried various memorization courses and SQ3R survey, question, read, recall, and review, but it can be slow and time consuming. Does either of you want to answer that question?
The time issue is a serious issue. I
Mhm.
mean, having time for all the things. I think you just have to prioritize, right? And not try to overdo it. That sounds like a lot of things you've tried. Not try to overdo it, but maybe as simple as carving out, an hour for you. It may not an hour a day, because I know that's impossible. I know it's impossible for me to carve out an hour every day for myself, but maybe an hour a week. And maybe it takes you 6 months to read that darn book, right? But you carve out an hour a week that's just yours, uncompromised, and you hold firm to that. Maybe then you can incrementally increase that, and an hour becomes 2 a week, and 2 becomes 5 a week over time. But I would say start simple, but do it, right? Do it and make it important, because it's something that's going to help you.
And the other thing that I would add to that is, if the person does not have time to sit and read a book, because I love to read. I can read 2 or 3 books at the same time. I just love to read. But try an audiobook.
Mm,
That's something you can listen to while you're in the car, if you commute, while you're on the train.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say with time, there are 168 hours per week. Everyone gets 168 hours per week. And one of the exercises that I did was I started keeping track of my time. Keep track of the time. Now I'm on business, so like I keep track of like the time I work on specific clients, right? I expected to only work on them for 5 hours, but they took 8 hours. That's a problem, right? And things like that. But also keeping track of how much time you're spending on social media
Wasted time. Yeah.
and watching Netflix
She
and
doesn't mean
chill.
us on social media.
No,
She
no,
means
no.
other people. Yeah.
You know the scroll. You thought you only scrolled 20 minutes, but if you honestly clicked on the button and timed it, you really was on for an hour and 18 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes, I'm not saying this is for you, Anonymous, but sometimes the issue is that we're spending 3 hours a night watching SportsCenter or, things like that. So being careful about that. And then with regards to like memorization courses and things like that, back in the day, when I really needed to memorize stuff, I would write it out by hand.
I did
Some
that
sort
too.
of way. I think it's scientifically proven, but some sort of way, like when you write stuff out like in cursive, you tend to memorize it. So that could be a way for you to do that. But saving that for stuff you really need to memorize. I'm a fan of Google. Tawanna knows I don't memorize a whole lot of stuff. My mother knows it as a no, that's what the list is for. I'm a very good, like when I'm on my game, I have a really good software I use called Toodly Do, which is just like a list thing, all the list, all the list, all the list. I don't remember passwords. And I don't use one of the password protectors either because I don't trust those. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying I don't. I have a paper in my office with all of my passwords on it, right? So anything I don't have to memorize, I don't. And I'm okay with that. So,
So saving the memorization for the important stuff, for the, yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. Beulah's saying, I listen to audiobooks while cleaning the house. I cannot look at the TV, so audio is a godsend. Yeah,
That's good.
yeah,
Good.
I wanted to add something else in here, just something that I was thinking of. This is actually a big thing I was thinking of with this topic, and that is being honest about the journey that you're taking and how long it's going to take and how much effort it's going to take.
Yeah.
I believe that a lot of us are in a microwave society where we want it now. And if we can't get it now, and if we can't get it right away, then we're getting frustrated and we're like, we're not going to do it at all. And I was reading an article talking about financial journeys. I was reading an article in LinkedIn. It came up in my feed from Shop Black, actually, Tawanna, that came out today about this private equity real estate investor. I'm going to try to get him on. We'll talk to Tony about that. But he has amassed $70 million, 70,
Wow.
$17 million in multifamily real estate. How long do you think it took him to amass $70 million in multifamily real estate? Put it in the chat. I'm going to also check YouTube here as well. How long do you think it took? Jabril is saying 10 years. How long do you think it took? $70 million in multifamily real estate. 3 years. How long do you all think it took? Give people a couple more. Janice got it right.
Wow.
20 years. I don't know, Janice, if you saw the article. 20 years, $17 million in 20 years. So the question with motivation is, are you willing to work that long, that hard, and stay focused? And you also, I want to do some I keep saying I'm going to do some commentary on it. I don't know when, but there's also research that talks about there's a certain amount of willpower that each of us has every single day. So if you're trying to lose a massive amount of weight and you're trying to study for the CPA exam because you're going to be a CPA, and you're trying to do something huge with your kids, there's scientific studies that says you can't do all of that. So one of the big things that they say is kind of like pick one major project that you're working on at a time. It's like you can do some research on it. It's like willpower, and you only have a certain amount of willpower per day to work on something. And then once you get in a routine with something like brushing your teeth and things like that, or you go to an office, you've got that new job, and once you know the routine of that job, then you can add other stuff on, right? But going back to my original point, there's something about knowing like how long the journey is going to take, and not necessarily every step of the journey, but like, hey, I need to lose 100 pounds. It may take me 2 years to do that. It may take me 2 years of going to the gym every day and eating broccoli and chicken and you know, like, and getting yourself in the mental headspace to do these things, you know, or with your financial journey. This is the final thing I'll say. There's a friend of mine, and we were at a golf classic last week, and he said to me, my goal is to have $20,000 a month in cash flow, and I'm halfway there. Once I have $20,000 a month in cash flow, I'm going to retire. I'm going to invite him as well. He's a friend of mine. He'll come anytime. So y'all can meet him. But like really kind of like, and that's his focus, like that's his thing right now. So he's about to buy, Tawanna, he's about to buy with another friend of ours, potentially a transportation company.
Okay.
And yeah, that's been around, and the company is white owned. So now they get to make it Black owned. And I said, then y'all need to go get all the certifications, get government. They were like, we didn't even think about that, Cherie. I'm like, that's why you have me as a friend, right? You know, but going back to my again, original point of being honest about the journey that you're taking and how long it's going to take and how much effort you're going to need to put into it, and knowing that if you think it's going to take 3 hours a week, maybe adding an extra hour or two on just for good measure as well. So.
No, that's great advice, because, you know, I think a lot of times we jump headfirst into something without doing the due diligence behind it. Mm-hmm. And then when you have those discouraging times come up, you're not equipped to say, well, wait a minute, I knew this was going to take a lot of time, or I knew these were some of the risks or some of the challenges or some of the roadblocks I would, you know, come up against. And when you know those things, it's easier to get beyond them. So that's great advice. Mm-hmm. Someone in the comments talked about Wade talked about the trauma. So he says, we are such a traumatized people. I believe that a lot of our approach to circumstances in response to others, meaning the life breathers and the death breathers, stems from our traumatic experiences as a people. I think it's important to start by seeking healing from that trauma. Wade hit that thing right on the head. That's it, right? We cannot heal and if we don't seek help. We just can't. And some of us are walking around with traumas and we tried to suppress them. That didn't work because they creep up and they creep up at the wrong time, right? Some of us are trying to heal ourselves, right? Or we're trying to talk to our friends to heal us, but then they belabored with trauma too. So then you got the sick leading the sick. That's not going to work either. We need to get right, and we need to get right professionally with help. That's the only way we're going to be able to, what I believe anyway, is the only way we're going to be able to reach maximum potential is if we are doing so well. We have to be well.
Now, Vanessa, do you have a comment on that? If not, we have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, I do. I can speak from experience that he is absolutely right, because in addition to the trauma that we have had to deal with as a people, I can tell you from experience, I am the product of an abusive alcoholic parent. So I should have 17 personalities right now. But I sought help and I worked through it. It took a long time. And as I said, I used my son as motivation. I looked at him and I said, this child is going to watch everything I do. I have got to be right for him.
Mm-hmm. That takes us back to, and we've said this a million times about different things, but what's your why, right? What's your why? What's your why in business? What's your why in life, right? What's your why as to what you want to accomplish? And when that why is powerful enough, right? Meaningful enough, then we can accomplish anything. We can get beyond the hurdles. We can learn to self-motivate if we're not surrounded by the right people to help us do that. But we've got to have a why. And making money is oftentimes not enough, right? Being rich is that's not a good why, right? That's the result maybe of the why and the work that you do, but it can't be the why, especially if you haven't ever been rich, because you know how not to be rich and you can survive not being rich, right? Whatever rich means, right? Or wealth, whatever those words mean to you from a dollar standpoint. If you have not been that yet, then you know how to live without it. So that's not even enough to be the why. So it's got to be something deeper and stronger that we have to aspire for and do it for to make sure that we stick with it in those times when we want to give up. But remember, if tomorrow is coming anyway, and if we're blessed enough to be able to come to tomorrow, then it's another day to have success and to do something differently, to make changes to something you did yesterday that didn't work and improve on it, to come up with a better plan, to do more research. So I would tell people, don't give up on yourselves. Believe in yourselves. Don't give up on yourselves prematurely. Have faith that things will work out. Now, faith without work is dead, right? So you still got to do something. We can't just walk around with a whole lot of faith and nothing else. You got to do something. But the two together are a recipe for success.
Yeah. Beulah is saying, I have a dream that continues to present itself since 1987. I do not want to put the time into it. I have tried to pass it on to my son, but he is not willing. Now, Beulah, that is the vision that God gave you, not God gave you a son. You know better than that. Come on, Beulah. Oh,
well, that's a long time to have a dream.
It sure is. Yeah.
I posted something in our Facebook group the other day talking about dreams deferred, right? And now it's time to get them back. And Beulah, you may want to reconsider. You may want to reconsider.
Think about why you don't want to put the time in. Because is it that you don't think you can be successful with it? Is it that you don't think you have the team that you need to be successful? I would venture to guess that there's probably a block that you have where you don't want, because God, I know you may not be spiritual, but work with. I don't believe that God would give somebody a vision for, how is that, close to 30 years?
Mm.
Yeah, 87. Yeah. Yeah. More than 30 years. 36, 30, 34 years.
34 years, God's given you this vision. If you don't believe in God, Allah, Buddha,
The universe, Mother Earth,
giving you this vision, and God gave it to you. You trying to pawn it off on your son. You know, I love you, Beulah. Think about it. Think about it. Email your girl. Bernard.
And then put your information in the expert directory, because you might be able to build a team to help you build out this project.
Yes, whatever it is, God he needs you to do it. He needs you to do it. So I believe there was a reason you put that in the Q&A specifically. So
You needed that little nudge.
That nudge. Well, you got your 10K family here to give you the nudge you need. Bernard is saying, all areas of the
project job goals, they all have a process of time. Yeah.
All areas of projects, goals, and jobs, et cetera, have a process of time. Yes, absolutely. Wade is dropping pure gems today. So first of all, Beulah's saying, I do believe in God. Good. I'm glad. I can say, God gave you that vision. So Wade is saying here, society tends to offer alternatives to actual healing by pointing to meditations, exercises, individualism, etc. My experience is that the aforementioned are temporary, like putting a Band-Aid on a deeply infected wound. Real healing, i.e. mental healthiness, I believe requires digging up the wound, cleaning it, and properly dressing it. This takes courage and commitment, and it is often not as attractive as society's alternative approaches. What are some of your thoughts on this, Vanessa?
I agree, because as I said, I had my issues earlier on in life, and I knew there were things that I needed to work on, and I didn't have the tools to do it alone. So I went and sought help. I went to therapy. I have no problem with telling people I'll go to therapy at the drop of a hat, because it has gotten me through many a thing.
Yeah. So what Wade describes is debriding the wound, right? And so I want to read the definition of debridement. Says it's a medical removal of dead, damaged, or infected tissue to improve the healing potential of the remaining healthy tissue. Removal may be surgical, mechanical, chemical, or via self-digestion. So it's that the removal of what's dead, right? And allowing what's there that's healthy to then flourish. But what's healthy can't flourish if there's something dead in its presence. Oh, Wade.
I be taking a lot of I need to take that and make it a short. Cobain needs to take that and make it a short. We're going to let that sit for a second. Bernard is saying, in order to succeed, you must have confidence in yourself to move forward. That I think that's so important, because how many of us are not moving forward because we don't have confidence? Either we don't have confidence in ourselves, or we don't have confidence in the other person, or we don't have confidence in, once we get there, do we know what we're going to have to deal with? So it's safer to be stuck here versus going over, crossing the street or whatever it is, getting to the other side and possibly being disappointed. You may possibly be disappointed, but you may possibly find a better life than you've ever imagined, or a better scenario, or whatever it is. So, yeah. So I also had a couple of other things that I wrote down. And, Vanessa, you can kind of talk on this. So we have a few minutes left. I also wrote down here checklist and checklist creating habits. So there was a time in my business when I had created this daily checklist. Like every day I come in, I sit at my computer, I had the checklist, and every day I did everything on that checklist like clockwork. I made more money that year. I was exhausted because, I'm very tiring type of business. But I oftentimes think about that. Like, when you are talking about motivation, and then again, this goes again to the willpower I was talking about, and the memorization and all of those things, writing it down. So your motivational journal as well, like writing it down. What am I trying to achieve? And then what task do I need to achieve? And also like, what's the milestones? So I'll tell y'all something funny within the 10K project, right? So within 10K, people will ask us, Tawanna and I, what's your goal, right? And I'm like, we're going to get to 1 million members. And Tawanna says, I just want us to get to 10,000 first, right? Like both are valid, but I'm over here with like the big thing, and she's at what? A milestone, like next milestone, the next milestone. Both of those things are needed in order to truly be successful. So I wanted you to talk again, Vanessa, about checklists, habits, milestones, and ultimately how a motivational journal, which you're putting out, and talk about it again, but how all of that kind of comes together for people.
Well, what I'm going to say is everyone needs to have a big picture, which is basically what you have, Sheree. But along with the big picture, you have to have those little things to get you there. Those are the cliffs where Tawanna's at. She's working on the cliffs. You're already at the top of the mountain waiting for her to come meet you up at the top there. But, it's very, very true. Like I like what you say about your checklist, but I find that checklists don't work for me, because I'll go and get involved in something and forget all about a checklist. So what I've tried to do is I've been keeping a planner. This is also something new in my life. And I try to plan things out loosely. But what I do find is that as I get things accomplished, I jot them down in my weekly pages of my planner. So this way I can keep track. Okay, that's done. Let me take care of this over here. That's done. Let me move over to that. So that helps me to, keep some kind of focus on what has to be done. With the motivational journal, it's not even so much about, there are goals pages, but more importantly is to inspire the person using it to keep going. Don't stop.
Don't stop. That's it. Don't stop. That's it.
And with that, ladies, I have to run because I have another meeting I'm supposed to be in right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being our guest.
But I enjoyed sharing with you. If people want to
get on the wait list for your journal, how do they do
yeah, definitely. As soon as everything is done, I will let you know.
Okay.
We'll add something in the newsletter when it's done, and so everybody can see it there, and then put something on social media for you. This is great. You guys heard Vanessa say, "Don't stop." Right? You're an entrepreneur, and you've come against some cliffs. Don't stop. Press through. You got this. Yeah. This is yours. Victory is yours. Okay? If you're just living life, you're not an entrepreneur, and you're just trying to get to the next day, don't give up. Don't give up. Just give it one more day, and keep giving it one more day.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Hi, Vanessa.
Tawanna, who is our Bet on Black Pitch presenter? What is the topic for tomorrow?
So the topic is cannabis.
Is what?
Cannabis.
Cannabis.
Little Mary Jane.
Mary Jane.
That is tomorrow's pitch.
All right.
Industry. So that's more than I normally give you, but I gave you, that's tomorrow's gonna be on fire, like literally on fire.
So again, thank you everybody for being here. We hope we said something tonight to you that gets you started, gets you going, helps you not quit, whatever it is, wherever it is you are in your journey. And Tawanna, do you have anything else to say before we bid everyone adieu?
I just thank you again. Thank you. You gave us an hour of your time tonight. We appreciate it. We know we didn't talk investing or wealth building, but we did something a little better than that today. We talked about how to heal your spirit and how to keep you motivated so that you can be all that you were made to be. And so I wish that and pray for that in all of your lives, that you become all that you were meant to be.
Yes. Thank you everybody for being here. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Bye, guys.